this video I'm going to show you how to connect your xTool F1 to Lightburn. So the first thing we need to do is come over to the side of your F1 and you connect the included USB cable into the side there, and then you take the other end of the cable and connect it to your computer. Now over in Lightburn we need to click on Devices and click on the Import option, and what we need is a little file that you can get from the xTool website, and I'll leave a link to that below. But you just click on that, open it, and it'll automatically load what you need into Lightburn. So you can see it listed there now. So I'll just click OK and we're ready to go. So all we need to do now is come down to the drop down on the side there and select xTool F1. Okay, so now we're connected, and you can see on the screen immediately the grid has changed now to the format needed for the F1. Now I'm just placing the working plate on the surface there because I'll be cutting and I want to protect the surface. And I'm also placing the material I'm going to be using, and this is a piece of 3mm paulownia wood. Now you may also notice that there are two dots on the screen, a red and a blue there, and we need to merge those together. So what we need to do is come up to the side of the F1 and turn the dial until those two dots merge together. Now back in Lightburn we want to import our image, or in my case create one from scratch, and I'm just going to be creating a very simple monogrammed emblem. So I'm selecting the ellipse tool from the sidebar and drawing an oval shape on the screen, and you'll notice as I do this that it immediately creates a layer over here in the Cuts and Layers panel. I'm also going to be creating some text. I'm going to click on the text tool to create my monogram. Now what I want to do here is engrave the text and cut the shape, but you can see that it has placed the text and the shape in the same layer, and I need to separate the two. So in order to do that, I need to select the text and then come down to the Colors palette and select one of those colors. Now you'll notice as soon as I do that we now have two layers in the Cuts and Layers panel. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the text over to the shape, and then I'm going to center it. And now I can select the mode for each of these layers. So because I want the oval shape to be cut, I'll leave that as is, as line. That means it's going to cut. And the letters I want to engrave, so I need to change that to fill. Now you can see that as I do that the text is filled with colour. Now if yours doesn't fill with colour like this and instead shows an outline, just come up to the settings option at the top menu and make sure that filled rendering is selected. Now we need to enter the speed and power settings, so I've come over to the xTool website and they have a table of material settings, which is really handy. So just make sure when you use this table though that you select xTool F1 and then the type of material you'll be working with, which in my case is wood. So I will be using the settings for basswood, and I just need to take a note of the power and speed settings so that I can enter those into Lightburn. Now bear in mind that the settings here on the xTool website are in millimeters per second, so you need to ensure that Lightburn is configured correctly for that. So to check that, just click on the settings at the top menu and select the millimeters per second option. You'll also notice that the settings indicate to use the blue light laser. But when using Lightburn, the default is going to be blue light, so you don't need to do anything. But if you ever needed to change it to red light, just click on the console tab and select the red laser option. Now I can enter the settings that we got from xTool and enter them into Lightburn. To do that, just double click on the speed and power settings for the first layer and then enter the settings there. Now mine have already been changed for that cutting layer, so I don't need to do anything. I can just click OK. But then you want to click on the fill layer. So double click the speed setting option there and then enter your settings. So in my case I need to enter 300 speed and then 100 power, and then I can click OK. So once we've got all that done, we can click on the frame button, and we do that so we can see where the image is going to be engraved on. And you'll notice that I moved the wood around until I had it as close to the corner as possible so that I reduced the amount of waste. But once I was happy with the position, I just needed to click on the start button and away it went. At this point it's always a good idea to close the protective shield on this, but in my case the wood was hanging over the edge, so I didn't have that option. So I just used my safety glasses. You can see how well this cut, and the engraving came out great, so the settings were pretty spot on for what I wanted to achieve here. Now there's just something I want to mention here. Normally I prefer to engrave first and then cut. If you cut first, there's always the risk of the wood moving or falling out of place, which may affect the engraving. I just basically forgot to do this, but fortunately it worked out perfectly. So there you go, that's how you connect and use your xTool F1 with Lightburn. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we'll be making more xTool F1 videos in the future. So stay tuned.